My 11-year-old daughter was turned away at the door at my sister's wedding. She spent 4 hours standing outside the venue in the freezing cold, listening to the music and laughter through the wall, crying her eyes out. I didn't shout. I just replied, "Understood." The next day, they regretted everything. The night before the wedding, I was busy falling apart in a hospital gown. Appendix gone rogue, IV in my arm, and a nurse telling me I wasn't going anywhere until my white cell count behaved. I remember laughing, half pain, half disbelief, because Chelsea's wedding was the next morning, and of course my organs would choose that exact day to protest adulthood. Mom called from the hotel suite, background noise full of hairspray and champagne. "Oh, Andrea, that's such bad timing," she said, like I'd scheduled surgery to inconvenience the florist. "Yeah," I managed, voice dry. "I'll try not to bleed on the cake." They all promised to take good care of Stella. "She'll be with family," Mom said. "She'll have a wonderful time." Right. The same family that once forgot me at a gas station in Ohio, but I bit my tongue, because I always do, and told Stella to behave, to smile, to have fun for both of us. Daniel, my ex, expert at polite rescues, offered to drive her there. He wasn't invited, of course. Chelsea's guest list was curated like a reality show, but he said he'd drop Stella off and leave quietly. "She'll be fine," he texted. "I saw your parents at the entrance." She's with them now. I looked at the message on my phone, IV machine beeping beside me, and thought, for once, maybe things will run smoothly. Hospital time is strange. The minutes stretch like gum. Between vitals checks, I scrolled through social media, watching Chelsea's wedding bloom online. Bouquets, fairy lights, people clinking glasses under chandeliers. Every photo had that same filtered glow of perfection. Mom grinning with Dad. Chelsea in white, kissing Josh under strings of lights. The caption, "Finally, Mrs. Matthews." I kept waiting to see Stella. Scrolling, refreshing. Nothing. Maybe she was shy about photos. Maybe she was off playing with the other kids. The nurse brought my dinner tray, lukewarm soup, gray chicken, and I joked, "Fine dining, courtesy of the county's worst appendix." She smiled politely and left. When the door closed, the silence felt heavy. I turned my phone face down. I didn't want to be the jealous sister in a hospital bed stalking wedding hashtags. Around 8, the sky outside turned the color of bruised glass. My phone buzzed. Daniel. I expected something ordinary, heading back soon, or she wants to FaceTime. Instead, his message was a single line. "Call me." I did. He picked up on the first ring, voice low, strained. "Hey, don't freak out." "Daniel, what happened?" "She's okay," he said quickly. "I just got here to pick her up and she was outside." "Outside where?" "Outside the venue." "The parking lot." She said they didn't let her in. For a second, everything inside me stopped. "You're joking," I said. "I wish." The IV machine kept beeping, indifferent. I could hear Stella crying faintly in the background, hiccuping breaths. "They told her she wasn't on the list," he said. "Your sister said something about not wanting distractions." "Distractions?" I repeated, tasting the word like poison. My chest burned, but the words came out calm. "Get her warm." "Take her home." "I'll handle it." "Handle what?" "Everything." When I hung up, my hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I stared at the wall clock. 4 hours. 4 hours my daughter had been standing outside while they danced and toasted and took pictures under fairy lights. 4 hours pretending she'd be noticed. I opened the family group chat. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. What could I even say? "Hey, great party. Small question. Why did you exile my child?" I called Chelsea instead. She answered on the second ring, voice bright and tipsy. "Andrea, how are you feeling?" "Why didn't you let Stella in?" I asked. No preamble. No small talk. A pause. Then a laugh that didn't reach her voice. "Oh my God, Daniel told you?" "We just thought, since you couldn't come, it might be confusing for her." "Confusing?" "She didn't fit the vibe," she said, lowering her voice like she was sharing a secret. "It was supposed to be adults only." "She's 11. "Exactly." Somewhere behind her, I heard Mom's voice. "Don't be a drama queen, Andrea." My throat tightened. "You left her outside." "In 30-degree weather, we thought Daniel would come back sooner," Mom said, grabbing the phone, her words slurring slightly with champagne. "She's fine." "You're making it sound awful." "It is awful." "Don't do this tonight," Mom snapped. "You'll ruin everything." Then the line went dead. I stared at my reflection in the dark hospital window. Pale face, hollow eyes, IV line trailing from my arm like punctuation. I looked like the ghost of every argument I'd never had with them. The nurse popped her head in. "Everything okay?" "Family," I said. "The best medicine for insomnia." She smiled sympathetically, not understanding, and left again. I tried calling back, straight to voicemail. Texted, "You need to explain what happened." No response. I sent another. "She was outside for 4 hours." Nothing. Somewhere down the hall, a patient started crying. The sound echoed through the vents, thin and endless. Midnight. I was still awake, scrolling through the photos again. Chelsea on the dance floor, my parents laughing, guests holding sparklers. Every image like a taunt. No one noticed the missing girl in the parking lot. No one cared enough to look. I opened Daniel's last text. "She's asleep. Don't worry. She's safe now." The relief in that message was the only thing keeping me from ripping out my IV and walking out of the hospital. I whispered to the empty room, "You're safe now, baby," like saying it could erase the rest of the night. Around 1 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Another photo from the family chat. Chelsea and Josh at the cake table, faces glowing, captioned, "Perfect day." I laughed then, a sharp, broken sound that startled even me. Perfect day? Sure. For everyone but the kid they left outside. I sat up, turned on the light, opened the hospital's Wi-Fi login, and started drafting a message I'd never send. To Mom, to Dad, to Chelsea. Every sentence began with the same word. How? How do you look at a child and decide she doesn't belong? How do you call yourself family after that? The monitor beeped steadily beside me, a metronome for fury. I didn't shout. I didn't cry anymore. I just whispered the word that had become a promise. Understood. The nurse came by at dawn to check my vitals. "Rough night?" she asked. "Enlightening," I said. She didn't ask what I meant. Outside, the sky was bruised with early light. Somewhere, music from the wedding still looped in my head. Muffled laughter, clinking glasses, the door that never opened for my child. Tomorrow I'd be discharged. Tomorrow they'd learn what it felt like to be shut out. And I meant every syllable of it. It wasn't the first time they'd decided who belonged and who didn't. I learned that trick early, how to smile when it stung, how to nod when I was being erased in real time. My parents got married because of me, though no one ever said it like that. They called it getting serious. What they meant was, Mom got pregnant at 21, Dad looked trapped for a summer, and suddenly there was a wedding with carnations and forced optimism. Then 4 years later, they had Chelsea, their real beginning. The proper child, as Dad once joked at Thanksgiving after too many beers. I laughed because that's what you do when you're the accident in the room. Chelsea was born into softness. By then they had savings, matching towels, a mortgage that didn't squeak every time you shut the door. I came before all that, when life was messy and cheap, and they never let me forget it. If she spilled juice, Mom sighed. If I spilled juice, it was a pattern of carelessness. It wasn't hatred. It was subtler, like gravity, always pulling toward her. By middle school, I'd figured out my only way out: grades. I worked like oxygen depended on it. If I couldn't be the favorite, I'd be the one they bragged about to their friends. Chelsea floated through her childhood while I sweated through mine, and still, when she so much as sneezed, the house moved. I left for college on a scholarship, 4 states away, and felt my lungs expand for the first time. Freedom smelled like student laundry detergent and cheap coffee. I majored in computer science because it sounded practical. Mom said it sounded cold. She wanted something feminine. Chelsea later majored in French literature, and they called it brave. I built a life that ran on logic: job, apartment, 401k. Chelsea built a life that ran on everyone else. She went from one temp job to another, always talking about her creative spirit. My parents funded her internships, her travel, her new car when the old one was bad energy. When I got married to Daniel, they sent a card. When Chelsea got engaged to Josh, they sent money. A lot of it. Still, I tried to be the good daughter, the reliable one. When Dad's back gave out, I paid part of their medical bills without being asked. When Mom's roof leaked, I transferred money before she even told me the estimate. I thought it was kindness. Looking back, it was auditioning for love. Then came the line that stuck in my teeth. We were all sitting in Mom's kitchen, planning the wedding. Or rather, Chelsea was planning and we were financing. She talked about florals and signature cocktails. Mom nodded like it was the moon landing. I offered to help with spreadsheets, budgeting, something practical. Mom smiled and said, "Oh, sweetie, you've done enough." "You're so responsible. We're just so happy to finally have grandchildren soon. Finally." As if Stella didn't exist. I remember setting down my coffee, feeling the slow burn crawl up my neck. "You do have a grandchild," I said. Mom blinked. "Of course, but you know what I mean." I did. Guilt made me generous. It always does. When Chelsea hinted that her wedding budget was tight, I offered to cover a few things. She beamed. "You're such a lifesaver." I gave her one of my cards, told her to use it for little stuff. Flowers, decorations, whatever popped up. "Just nothing big," I said. "No venues, no honeymoons." She promised. For a while, I believed her. Then the notifications started. Venue deposit, caterer, bridal suite, airline tickets. Thousands gone in neat digital lines. I stared at the statements like they were in another language. When I brought it up, she brushed it off. "It's all wedding related, don't worry." "I'll sort it after the honeymoon," Mom chimed in. "You make more, honey." "It's not a big deal." I almost told them that fairness existed outside their vocabulary, but instead I said, "Fine," and changed the subject. I told myself peace was cheaper than confrontation. Spoiler, it isn't. By spring, wedding fever infected everything. Group chats, Pinterest boards, family dinners that were really Chelsea shows. I spent most of it quietly, raising Stella, doing my job, pretending not to notice my savings thinning. Daniel joked that I was too polite for my own good. He wasn't wrong. He'd turned into the kind of ex you could carpool with. We shared custody, schedules, small talk. He still remembered my coffee order. I still reminded him to pay his taxes. It worked. Then, 3 days before the wedding, my body betrayed me. It started as a dull ache in my side, then a twist sharp enough to make me drop a mug. By midnight, I was in the ER, clutching my stomach while a doctor said appendicitis, like it was a weather report. They wheeled me into surgery the next morning. When I woke, high on morphine, my phone had 20 messages, from Mom, Dad, Chelsea, none asking how I was feeling, all reminding me about wedding payments. Mom's text. "Such bad timing. Hope you can watch the live stream." Chelsea's. "No worries. Stella can still come. Daniel will drop her off, right?" "Right." I lay there, staring at the ceiling tiles, thinking about how predictable it all was. Of course, the family event of the decade couldn't pause for something as boring as an appendix throwing a tantrum. Stella came to see me before Daniel took her to the venue. She twirled in her blue dress, nervous and proud. "You look amazing," I told her, even as pain stabbed through my side. She hugged me carefully around the IV line. "Aunt Chelsea said I'll sit near Grandma." "That's nice," I said. "You'll be with family?" And I believed it. If I'd known what that day was going to become, I would have ripped the IV out, found a cab, and gone myself. But I didn't know. All I could do was stare at my phone, waiting for the first picture, thinking how happy she'd look in that dress. Waiting. Always waiting. Morning came in hospital colors, beige light, plastic air, the sound of other people's monitors. I hadn't slept. My discharge papers sat folded on the tray, waiting for a signature. I scrolled my phone, not to read the news or check messages. I didn't want any. But to stare at numbers. My numbers. Every transaction from the wedding sat there like a scar. Bell Manor Catering, $2,187.50. Amber and Rose Florals, $894.10. Airline booking, $3,266.48. All charged on the card I had given Chelsea for small things. Small things, my ass. There was a noise outside my door, nurses laughing, and I pictured my family still out there somewhere laughing too. Champagne breath, confetti on shoes, my daughter's dress stiff with cold. My thumb hovered over the banking app. I knew what I was about to do. I just needed to hear it in my own head first. "You're not crazy. You're done." I started with the easy part, cancel card. A pop-up asked, "Are you sure?" I laughed out loud, the sound harsh against the hospital walls. "Oh, honey," I told the phone. "I've never been more sure." Click. Done. Card ending 4321 deactivated. Next step, dispute charges. The screen filled with vendor names like a hit list. Venue, florist, band, travel agency. One by one, I typed the same phrase. Unauthorized use / exceeded agreed purpose. By the third form, my hands were steady. By the fifth, I was smiling. I canceled the monthly transfer to my parents too, $500 they never asked for but always expected, like a subscription to my guilt. Tap, tap, tap. Gone. For the first time all night, my breathing slowed. I even cracked a joke to myself. Doctor's orders: reduce stress by eliminating parasites. It was almost funny how easy it was to take your life back. 3 taps, 2 calls, 1 polite hold message later, and my family's financial umbilical cord was officially severed. The nurse poked her head in to check vitals. "Feeling better?" she asked. "Depends who you ask," I said. "My blood pressure's down." My sister's might not be. She smiled, confused, and disappeared again. I looked at the screen one more time. A list of open disputes flashed back, case numbers like tiny trophies. Somewhere, a song from the wedding playlist still echoed in my head. "Don't Stop Believin'." I almost snorted. They should have stopped a long time ago. By mid-morning, they signed my release. I packed slowly, careful with my stitches, the hospital bracelet still cutting a white ring around my wrist. Daniel texted, "Just dropped Stella off. She's okay. Quiet." When I got home, she was waiting on the couch in her blue dress, the hem wrinkled, a crushed petal still clinging to it. Her little purse sat in her lap like proof. I crouched beside her. "Hey, sweetheart." Her eyes were red. "They said I wasn't on the list." My throat tightened. "I know. That wasn't your fault." She looked down at her shoes. "I stayed because I thought maybe they'd change their mind. Maybe if they saw I waited long enough, they'd let me in." I swallowed hard. "Oh, baby. But Grandma was there." "Yeah," I said softly. "I know." I helped her out of the dress, made hot chocolate, and tucked her under a blanket. The sound of cartoons filled the room, thin and bright against the quiet. She leaned into me, half asleep, whispering, "It was really cold, Mommy." I kissed her hair. "Not anymore." My phone buzzed. Chelsea calling. Of course it was. I watched it light up on the table, her name glowing like an alarm. I let it ring out. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then silence. A minute later, another call. This time I answered. "Why aren't my payments going through?" she blurted. No hello, no apology. I almost admired the consistency. "Because I canceled them." "What?" "I canceled the card. Filed disputes. You'll need to cover your own charges now." Her voice went high, brittle. "You gave me that card!" "You said it was my contribution. I said small things." "You spent $10,000. It was all for the wedding. You can't just—" "Actually, I can." There was a pause, then a noise that might have been a sob or a shriek. "You're unbelievable." "Thank you," I said. "Finally, we agree on something." She started to rant, something about vendors and deposits and how she'd be in trouble. I let her talk until her words ran out. When she finally said, "You'll fix this, right?" I answered, "No, Chelsea. This time, you will." And I hung up. For a few blessed hours, there was quiet. Then a knock. Not the polite kind. The family kind. I opened the door. Mom's face was flushed. Dad's jaw tight. "What the hell did you do, Andrea?" Mom demanded. "Chelsea's in tears." "You canceled everything? Are you insane?" I leaned against the frame. "Takes one to know one." Dad stepped in like he owned the place. "This isn't funny. You've humiliated your sister. She humiliated herself when she told an 11-year-old she wasn't on the list." Mom stiffened. "That's not how it happened." "Oh? Did she throw confetti first?" "She was trying to keep the ceremony small," Mom said, hands slicing the air. "The planner said no children, and Chelsea agreed. We told the usher not to admit anyone under 12. Except you forgot to tell the child who'd already been invited," I shot back. Mom winced. "She arrived with Daniel before we could explain. He just dropped her and left. What were we supposed to do?" "Let her in." Dad's voice rose. "She was in tears." "Do you think we enjoyed that? We thought she'd call you or go home. We didn't think she'd just stand there." "She did," I said. "For 4 hours, waiting for her family to remember her humanity's silence." Then Mom whispered, "It was a misunderstanding." "No," I said. "It was a decision. Yours." She tried again, weaker. "We all thought it would be better without kids. Less distraction, more elegant." "Then it can be elegant without my money, too." Dad glared. "You can't just cut us off." "Chelsea's ruined. The vendors, not my problem." "Be reasonable," he pleaded. "What about the mortgage?" "You said—" "I said I'd help while you were decent people. Turns out that expired mom stared at me like she'd never seen me before." "You're serious." "I'm done," I told her. "No more cards, no more transfers, no more pretending we're family." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Dad exhaled through his nose, a sound like surrender. "Fine," he said quietly. "Have it your way." "I already do," I answered, and closed the door. The lock clicked. Their footsteps crunched on the gravel, retreating. Inside, the house finally felt mine. A week passed before I heard anything. Long enough for the adrenaline to fade, not long enough for the phone to stop buzzing. At first it was quiet. Too quiet. Then the whispers started. A coworker asked if I was doing okay. A cousin liked one of my old posts and left a comment that felt like a dig. Family should be sacred. That's how I found out there was a story going around. Apparently, I'd sabotaged Chelsea's wedding because I was jealous. Couldn't stand that my little sister got the spotlight. The version where my daughter froze outside while they toasted champagne didn't make the rounds. Funny how gossip never does. I didn't respond. I just watched it grow, the way mold does when you ignore it. Then I learned she'd gone on the honeymoon anyway. Josh's coworker's wife told a friend of mine. Small town, big mouths. Chelsea had taken payday loans and maxed her cards to salvage the dream. I pictured her posting smiling photos while interest rates chewed through her future. I didn't gloat, but I didn't pity her either. 3 days later, an email arrived from a law firm I'd never heard of. Subject: Notice of Intent. Chelsea was claiming I'd agreed to fund her wedding and now owed damages for breach of oral contract. I laughed so hard I spilled my coffee. Then I called a lawyer. She was older, sharp, the kind of woman who wore reading glasses like weapons. After 10 minutes of scanning the paperwork, she looked up. "They have nothing," she said. "No written agreement, no signatures. The money was on your account, and you revoked authorization legally. Let them file. A judge will throw it out." "That's it?" I asked. "That's it. And if they keep harassing you, we'll send a cease and desist." I thanked her, walked out lighter than I'd felt in months, and promised myself I'd never spend another dime cleaning up their chaos. By Friday, the smear had started to unravel. Someone, probably a guest, posted a photo that hadn't made the album. Stella, small and stiff in her blue dress, standing outside the venue doors. The caption: "She waited." The comments turned fast. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion about cruelty and class. Messages flooded in. "We didn't know, Andrea. That's unforgivable." I didn't reply to those either. Let them sit in their sudden morality. Saturday evening, the phone rang again. Mom. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity won. Her voice came sharp and thin. "Your sister's drowning in debt. The loans, the cards. She's a mess. Are you proud of yourself?" "She chose the loans," I said. "I chose my daughter." "This isn't who you are," she pleaded. "It's exactly who I am," I said, and ended the call. Later, an email pinged, a final one from the bank. "All disputes resolved in your favor." I sat at the kitchen table, Stella coloring beside me, the hum of her pencil soft and steady. Outside, the world was loud with other people's drama, but here it was quiet. I turned my phone face down. For once, nothing buzzed. A year later, peace had a shape, and it looked like silence. No messages, no phone calls, no guilt disguised as concern. Just quiet. Still, news found me. It always does. Chelsea and Josh never bought the house they'd planned. The loan applications crashed under the weight of her ruined credit. The payday lenders bled her dry. The arguments did the rest. Money, blame, the wedding, it was all the same fight on repeat. Josh kept bringing it up, that moment at the door saying, "You didn't just freeze her out, you froze everything." Eventually, he filed for divorce. Chelsea never saw it coming, which, honestly, tracks. She moved back in with Mom and Dad because she couldn't afford rent, much less a lawyer. The divorce fees were eating through what little she had left. Mom and Dad tried to bail her out, paid off a few loans, maxed a card or two, and it dragged them under too. Without my transfers, the mortgage caught up with them. Last I heard, they'd sold the big house and downsized to something manageable. Translation: they're broke, but pretending it's minimalist. I didn't answer the update texts, but I read them. Every so often, curiosity wins. As for Stella, she's thriving. She's 12 now, sharper, funnier, fully herself. She barely mentions that night except to joke that we check guest lists twice before accepting invites. People sometimes ask if I miss my family. I tell them the truth. I miss the idea of them, not the reality. Now it's just me, Stella, and a piece I don't owe anyone for. So, what do you think? Too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe for more.